luminary in the tech industry, a name synonymous with the groundbreaking ideas and transformative solutions. Our guest speaker is the founder and the CEO of Tudlo Innovation Solution Incorporated and cleaningly.com.eu, which hails from the Philippines and Australia, making his influence truly global. But what sets him apart is not just his successful ventures, it's his visionary approach he brings to the table. His tech expertise has not only shaped his companies, but also played a pivotal role in spearheading projects with international giants like the UNDP and the World Bank. This is a testament to his commitment to leveraging technology for global progress. With backing of esteemed partners like Smart Communication and JFDI.Asia, our guest speaker is the forefront of innovation, driving the tech landscape forward. So this afternoon, we will delve into the heart of the user interface and the user experience design, or commonly known as the UI UX, a topic that's pivotal in today's tech-driven world. Trailblazer students, get ready to be inspired and enlightened as we tap into the wisdom of a tech visionary who's leading the way into the future. Please join me in welcoming our distinguished speaker in the person of Mr. Vince Loremia. Sir, the virtual floor is all yours.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jerby. I'm very glad and happy to be here. I'm very proud Filipino and very proud Cebuano. Maayong buntag ug maayong hapon sa tanan. So I'm Vince. I'm the founder of Tudlo Innovation Solutions. I founded this 10 years ago. I'm glad for these 10 years that we currently have. We're still innovating. We're still solving different types of problems. And my topic for today is all about UX and UI. Without further ado, I would actually go through what's really difference between a UX and a UI, because sometimes we kind of look at it as the same or similar, but actually there's a huge difference between the two. First thing first, UI, which is user interface, is a human-first approach to designing the aesthetic experience of a product. Its application usually is into the digital products. So either it's a mobile user interface design, web user interface design, or whatever it is that a device, computing device, or any types of devices that you want to feel within the touch of your hands, and you look into that's part of user interface design. What creates it is a combination of typography, color palettes, buttons, animations, and imagery, right? And the results to that is to delight users aesthetically. While on the other hand, UX, it's a human-first approach to product design, and it's not only for a computing device or any interfaces that you want to touch and feel, right? It's also mostly applicable to physical and digital products like Tesla cars or Mac computers. It's the full spectrum or full experience of user first contact to the last, right? From interaction of a physical device on how it navigates into the intricacies of its product functionalities. So it creates structural design solution for pain points along users that encounter anywhere along their journey with the product. Yep. So what's the result? It delights the users with their effectiveness. That means the goal is to let the user feel that is useful and usable. And we'll be talking about that later on this following slide. So what does a UX designer do? versus a UI designer. So a UX designer has a full spectrum of conducting user research, determining the information architecture, creates a wireframe and prototypes, and conduct usability tests, which is most important. And then it bridges the gap between the user's needs and the needs of the business, and then it collaborates with UI designers. Hence, the UI designers, on the other hand, designs the buttons, icons, animations, typography, color palettes, visual style guide, and creates also the wireframe and making it alive into a design concept to a reality, and it should be responsive, and therefore it also collaborates with the UX designer and the developers, right? So these are the two skills that a UX designer and UI designer should have. They should be able to collaborate, to communicate, and most especially to be open-minded on, especially on the trends and human behavioral aspects of designing products. So they both should have empathy, take note. They should be caring enough to understand user or customers' needs, and curiosity to continuous learning, critical thinking and problem solving, familiarity to user research and analysis, and wireframing and prototyping, and understanding information architecture, and most especially user and usability testing. While on the other hand, UI designers should be adaptable, should have a creativity and problem solving too. And most especially, the core aspect of being a UI designer is to be able to do visual branding, typography, color theory, icon design, and knowledge to responsive design, animation, and interactivity. So hoping that you now know what's the difference between the UX and UI. In a nutshell, on my own personal opinion, UI is for the UI user interface design concept that you see with the typography and look and feel, while the UX really study human behavior, human psychology, and human actions, and how it conducts features within your product, either it's a physical or a digital products. So hopefully you now have the basic understanding the difference between UX and UI. Now, moving forward, a UX, right, designer, or what we call a UX manager, has this concept, or they usually have known about design thinking. It is a non-linear process. That means you have this back and forth of iteration of every design. And what's the goal is the conquest of what's really matters most of your customers, and how they would be able to effectively and efficiently use your product. So that's the whole goal for design thinking process. So it's an iterative. That means you always have this repetitive collaboration between your users and your product engineers and designers, where we continuously ask users, and we always validate user cases for our results to review, to question, to improve the initial assumptions, understandings, and outcomes. Now, the final stage of this process is to provide new insights, redefines the problem, enables the team to see alternative solutions that are not available in the market, or an innovative approach of what's existing in the market today. And the reason being why UX designer is sought after right now, because it's not only about usability and usefulness of the product, it's also human feeling and emotion towards the product. And that's the reason why Mac computers or Apple is the most valuable company because of its products. It has a different feeling. It's not only about the buttons, the typography, it's the whole aspect of the design of the product. Same is true with Tesla, the most sought after electric vehicle car in the market today. I have one Tesla car, and it really have difference in driving an ICE vehicle versus an electric car. It's not only about how I see and feel about the design, but how I was able to drive safely, effectively, and efficiently. And same is true with the design thinking on how they process these products. It starts with empathy, understanding, and defining what's really the user problem. Yeah. And obviously now you are learning about how human or customer behaves on different interfaces. So you prototype a new idea based mostly on assumptions, and sometimes you have this environmental aspect that inspires you on how birds, on how plants, and how some of the objects in the world behaves. And you now also have this concept of what kind of processes and design works on a particular industry, and you wanted to try to mimic that on your design. So you now have a prototype, and you test your idea, you ask again your user or your customer, and it reveals insights on how they were able to navigate within your interfaces. So after that, you test, and after you validate all your assumptions, now you have a great design for your product. So again, it's never-ending process. In fact, most of our projects today, we're still iteratively redesigning some parts of our functions of every mobile application and web application that we design. Not just because we want to be up to the trend, but mostly based on customer feedback that they can't be able to navigate fast enough or effective enough versus our competitors. Now, there are 7 factors that we know of on how products or how users find it more intuitive enough to use your product or to be a champion or to be a follower or to be a fan base of your particular product. And number 1 is usefulness. And it's obvious, but it's actually, is it really the product that I want to use, right? The difference between usefulness and usable. Yes, it's useful, but every functionality that you have, is it usable? And that's the second phase or second factors on why your product is much more valuable than other products out there in the market today. Number three, which is not obvious, is findable. And this is also the reason why some of the great products, right, is in the shelf, and why not so great product is out of the market today, selling fast than those great products in the shelf, because these products are mostly findable. Okay. Number four, credible. And this is the reason why Mac computers, even though it's expensive as your car, is valuable because of its credibility all throughout the years. It has a story behind every functionality of its design. And number five, it's desirable. The desirability of every product is one of the components on why a gaming chair is much more comfortable to sit in than an office chair, because of its ergonomics, because of its desirability of your whole body to sit in that particular chair. Number six is accessible. And that's the reason why when you log into banking system versus Facebook social media platforms, there's a huge difference. And obviously, with our government login signups, we tend to get frustrated because of the lack of accessibility. So one of those factors, that's the reason why some of the successful software as a service companies have more users over their competitors because of accessibility. They have this auto login with Facebook or Google versus 10 fields of form to fill up just to get into your software. And that's what matters to users, right? And seven is valuable. Valuable is somewhat like more than your emotion, more than how you get into the product design and how you look and feel. It's compasses everything that five senses of human. So you were able to grasp how the user interfaces coincides with the typography, color palettes, and also the navigation and animation of the product that you used. So that's how user experience designers come up with their design with these 7 factors. They have this checklist, a tick box for them to really see to it that every users or customers find it useful and valuable for them to use. Now, another aspect, according to Whitney Kissenberry, which is a UX usability expert and former president of the Usability Professional Association, are the 5 criteria that a product must meet so as to be usable. Number 1 is effectiveness. Effectiveness of having this particular problem, and you were able to solve it simply and very focused on solving the pain point of a customer. That's what effectiveness is. And second, efficiency. Efficiency is more of speed, the factor of getting to one page to another page, or getting one functionality of maybe adding your credit card information from this interface to the other interface that lets you add uh, all the information needed. So it's the speed when we talk about efficiency. Third is engagement. And that's the reason why there is no user manual on any type of Apple products, because you can enable yourself to use that particular product with just opening the box, opening the phone or iPad, and clicking one button or two buttons, and you are able to engage or use that product. So that's also one aspect of characteristics of a usable product. Fourth, of course, the error tolerance. We all know in software engineering, there's always bugs, but there's a lot of software companies who are able to obscure on how they tackle error or warnings within their software. And sometimes the errors is not even obvious. And one important example for that is Canva. If you could actually go through canva.com versus Adobe Photoshop, there's a really big difference on how users able to navigate both softwares, right? Five or fifth is the ease of learning. The ease of learning with Canva, which even a 10-year-old kid is able to design, versus an Adobe Photoshop that only experts can do, makes Canva the most valuable company here in Australia. And there are a lot of companies also have this concept. So these are the 5 characteristics of usable products. Number 1, again, is effectiveness. Number 2, efficiency. Number 3, engagement. Number 4, error tolerance. And number 5, the ease of learning. Now, a while ago, I was talking about empathy towards users. And I was also talking about how you would be able to come up with the design. And it always starts with questioning and understanding and conducting user interviews. So these are some of the checklists on how user experience designers or managers go through the process. Number 1, before they would be able to come up with a design, they screen participants on finding really what's the target market or target audience, right? It's important that you actually not just come up with surveys or card sorting or whatever techniques that you want to have for you to get really a more usable and valuable insights when coming up with your design. Second, you can determine whether you give a monetary and monetary incentives and why it matters most. A lot of user interviews are either biased. Number 2, either they're just there because you were asking questions to them, they're pressured to answer, right? Versus they're incentivized to give answers which is honest feedback, critiques, or answers to your questions. And that's important as a user designer. Number 3 is set goals for the interviews, which is very important. And one thing is you're not looking yet for the answer. You are still understanding user behavior, consumer behavior. consumer psychology. And you need to put that way. You need to be open-minded that this is not getting the answers, right? This is more understanding user and customer and the market, right? Number 4, schedule breaks between interviews, and that's important because you don't want to bombard them with a lot of questions or survey or whatever it is. Number 5, use a discussion guide. That means you need to give them notes and how you would come up with your user interview. Number 6, write a follow-up question, especially if it finds you interesting to know more about your answer. All right. During the user interview, you need to be more amicable. Smile when you enter the interview room. Start small talk because you want to build a rapport. Encourage dialogue with a semi-structured format, and then listen more. You're there to understand your user, so talk less. Number 5, avoid leading questions, and this is important, especially for those who are founders when they're coming up with their surveys, because they already have a product in mind and they already have as an assumption, they want to conduct questions or write questions according to their assumptions. And that will mess up on really coming up with a great product, with a great design. And number 6, especially when you are conducting Zoom calls or any type of video conference, close the camera for the note taker. Now, after, make sure you always have the permission to use the recording for your internal notes, internal discussions. And number 2, always say thank you, right? And lastly, analyze your research and make recommendation, right? So there are ways to do that, and one of that is a software called Aurelius. Now, here comes the user experience designer or manager research methods. And there are 4 quadrants that you might want to take on. You can use 2 out of 3 quadrant, or you might want to use just 1 quadrant or all of the quadrants. It depends on your product. It depends on the timeline of your project, and it also depends on the complexity of your product. So number 1 is behavioral, what people do, right? And qualitative, why and how, right? You're after of the quality of the things that you want to go after. And the third is quantitative, how much, how many does have this particular pain point, for an instance or example. And attitudinal, what people say. So with these quadrants, one of my favorite is card sorting. This is where you ask a group of people with the common question, and you let them write within one card. You take out maybe sticker notes and find a way. After you ask question and they posting it, they're writing their 1 or 2 sentences or 2 words, right, within that. And then after you set that group session, you sort it out according to commonalities and similarities. And that's where you come up with how many and the quality of what you want to focus, maybe a top 3 of these items that are commonalities or familiarities. The the usual behavioral and quantitative that we do on our mobile and website testing is the A/B testing. We come up with 2 or 3 landing pages, and we see to it that we have analytics, and one of them is Google, put it in our website, or there's actually a lot of metrics wherein it also allows you to know where they're clicking, where they're having more time on your user design, and that allows you to come up with what's really best for your audience or your type of target market. So A/B testing is one of those techniques to come up with what's the best landing page or what's the best design for this particular target market. Right? And of course, there's common, which is surveys. Usability testing is more towards the beginning, especially if you want to really see to it that this is how users really go through every steps of a particular product that you want to create, right? Now, here's another thing. We talk about user experience, and we also talk about user interface. We also have a new term in the user experience or user design field, which is interaction design. This is more not only about the design, but more towards vision, hearing, and feeling, right? So it's the creation of a dialogue between a person and a product, system, a service. And this dialogue can both be physical and emotional in nature, and is manifested in the interplay between the form, function, and technology as experienced over time. As what I've told you a while ago about the Tesla experience that I have, it was really more of combination of what's the sound that they actually provide when there's warning, and what's the steering wheel, and what's the look and feel inside, right? And not just even the chassis, the battery, how they put in the battery, and even the design of the car, right? It's really not just the design and not just even the user experience, but how these several aspects, the intricacies of these form and functions, putting them together in a beautiful product by just hearing and feeling it. Yeah. So in design concept, or in the principle of design, there are actually set of rules each designers can follow when creating composition to create visually pleasing work. This is similar to an interior design, creating space, looking good spaces in a building or in a room. Same is true when you are creating a design in a digital or in a physical product. The purpose of these rules is to deliver a message in the most organized and functional way. While we've all seen our fair share of experimental pieces out there, it's important to know the significance of the fundamentals. And this is some of those. Balance. So what is this? Balance is any element placed on a page and carries a visual weight that can range from form to size to color and texture. In order to make a design feel stable or have balance, the elements need to have a certain scale. And you could see this on several websites, right? You could actually see how Apple and Microsoft.com, another website, has only these 2-3 colors and shapes. And typography is actually uniform. You could not see 4 or 5 typography. Yes, there are different font sizes, which means this is the header, and sometimes this means this is the paragraph, right? So we also have this symmetrical balance. It's really one-to-one. The elements on the right side have the same visual weight as the elements on the left side. You could see this on e-commerce sites, right? So it's easy for you to go through all the product listings. And we also have a symmetrical, which has different sides, but equal weight on visual. Especially you could see this on testimonials, or you have a product features that you want to emphasize. Unity. Unity is the principles of design, is the harmony produced by all elements in this design piece. For instance, using similar colors that match and integrate elements organically makes it appear as if they belong together, are not just put on a page. And especially on the modern design, you could see this different logos, which have you could actually a lot of logos from 3 colors, 5 colors, 6 colors, and different shapes. Now you could see logos within 1 color or 2 colors and 1 particular shape or 1 particular sizes, and that's because of the principle of unity. You don't want to have a visual appeal that can't be read, can't be visualized, and hard to understand. Contrast. Contrast refers to level of difference between design elements in order to create visual hierarchies. The variation makes certain elements stand out more than others. You can apply contrast by using colors, textures, sizes, and shapes. Because sometimes if there's unification of everything that you see, it's kind of boring. Contrast can be very valuable when you want to allow your users to see emphasization of one particular element. We can have a color contrast, like for instance, these are all the competitors and this is you. You can actually have that kind of concept on your design, especially creating web designs or mobile designs. Or this is an add button, and that's the reason why it has a blue button versus other type of colors within your design. A shape contrast can be also part of it, like you have a tabular format and your logo is a different format, right? Because you want them to really see your brand over your usual form and functionality. Emphasis, right? This is also a strategy to get viewers' attention to a specific design element. This can be in any form, a button, a website, or an image. The purpose is to create something that will stand out from the rest of the page. Especially when you want to highlight one particular aspect of your design or section of your page, that will entail that you want your users to really have one focus on your page. Emphasis strategy is one particular aspect, even if it's just different color, right? Or a different type of imagery over the other elements of your design. Fifth, repetition. Using repeated elements on a layout can be pleasing to the viewer. Repetition is repeating a single element throughout the design. We can call it grid, a repetition of lines between, because it creates a certain consistency. And you can see this in a tabular format where you have a create, read, update, delete functionality within your web design. You can also see this again on e-commerce, where it has similar shapes on all the imagery and similar shapes on all the buttons and similar fonts on all the prices, right? So repetition make it more clear to the visual elements for your users to be able to navigate well and easy for them to go through with your website. Pattern. In principles of design, pattern is the repetition of more than one design element, while repetition focus on a single element being repeated. Pattern refers to multiple elements repeated throughout a design, especially for the background within your website. This was before parallax designs were invented. There was a GIF or a PNG or JPEG image. Some of the website is doing this, wherein it's actually just one slice and the effect is right. It's actually one whole page, but it's actually comes with, or it begins with a small tile of the design, right? So this is also one way of having a consistency within your design, a pattern. Rhythm. Rhythm is a principle of design that has more complexity than the previous principles of repetition and pattern. Repetition and pattern are applied to the same element throughout the design. Rhythm is the visual tempo of a combination of elements. When used repeatedly and with variation, it gives the feeling of organized movement. This is when you want to have still a uniformity, clarity within your design, but you want also some changes, but it has still a correlation between the other elements and spaces within your design. Rhythm is a technique that you might want to have. Like it's the same shapes, but it's different colors, but the colors coincides between each other. That's rhythm. So there you have it, guys. That's the principles of design. We also talk about the difference between user experience and user interface designer. We also talk about the elements of being a user experience manager and how they conduct studies or interviews and understanding human behavior, customer behavior, to come up with a great design and towards a great product. Thank you and have a great day ahead.
Thank you so much, Sir Vince Loremia, for sharing us your knowledge and expertise with regard UI UX, or also known as UX UI. Now, before we proceed to the photo opportunity with our participants, gentle reminders to our participants for the attendance and also the evaluation link located at our chat box. Please feel free to click the link. Okay, so at this point, may we ask our technical staff to share the certificates? The certificate. Okay, so University of Science and Technology of Southern Philippines Certificate of Appreciation is presented to Vince Loremia as resource speaker for imparting his knowledge and expertise in the field of UI/UX during the lecture series on pitching competition they took on October 12, 2023 via Zoom. His discussion has greatly helped the participants to understand UI/UX in the field of Tech 101. Given this 12th day of October 2023, signed Engineer Johannes Armando D. Pasqua, Head Center for Entrepreneurship and Technology, signed Attorney Junel O. Albina, Chancellor, USTP CDO. Thank you so much. All right, at this point, may I request Sir Jugs, if you have something to say, Sir Jugs?
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. No? Thank you very much for being with us this afternoon. And of course, special kudos to our premium speaker, Sir Vince. So Sir Vince is a example of a startup who really came from the grassroots. So I've known him while we were in Cebu, while we're doing the tech events there. I remember back then, 2016. And look at him now, through the grits and through his efforts, he is one of the budding and growing startup in Australia. So thank you very much, Sir Vince. Truly, you have enlightened our students, particularly the importance of user interface and UX. We can stress that this is actually very important, crucial when we are going to develop any product or services. So we have to consider the experience of the users in mind. So again, that's Sir Vince. This is not the last, but of course, first maybe many other topics or many other lectures that we can have under our center. And in behalf of the Chancellor of USTP, Cagayan de Oro, and the Center for Entrepreneurship, we thank you very much for giving us your time, as well as the talent. That's very important. The talent of the first-hand experience of being a startup. So thank you very much, sir. And to all the viewers, this is a very important topic, which is, I cannot stress the importance of this true enough. So again, thank you very much for all.
There you have it. Thank you so much, Sir Jukes, for your warm words. Sir Vanes, is there anything else you wanted to say before we switch off our Zoom?
Sure. I just wanted to emphasize again my sincerest congratulations to Sir Judenis Pasqua and all the staff, and of course students, for taking part of this session. Again, I was once a student. I was dreaming to be a Googler. I was in Google 5 years after that, and I was also dreaming to have my own startup. Now I was able to do that, and I wanted to inspire more students to get their dreams, because nobody can stop you, only your mind. And we can actually be wherever we are, as long as we get hold on to our dreams. Thank you again, and have a great day ahead.
Thank you so much, Sir Vince. Your discussion, your presence today is truly inspiring to our Trailblazers students. Once again, thank you so much for gracing us your time and your expertise. Hope to see you next time we will be conducting another set of lecture series. Thank you, everyone. This has been your host, Jerby M. Laniton. So this concludes our day 2 of our lecture series. But before anything else, we'll have the photo opportunity. I'm sorry. So may I request our participants to turn on your camera, please? Thank you so much, Narvasa. How about the others? All right, so I think we're good to go. So 3, 2, 1, smile. There you go. Thank you so much and have a great day, Sir Vince. Again, thank you so much, and Sir Jukes, and to the rest of the participants. Have a great day, everyone.